Welcome to another episode of DonDraper's Den. In this podcast, we discuss branding and marketing and how it touches so many aspects of our lives, from music to culture, business to technology. I am Chris, and this is Ernie. As industry insiders, we're going to give our insights and opinions on this fantastic business. So without further ado, pour a glass and let's get into it. All right, guys, thanks again for joining us in this episode. Just so you know, we get into some brand integration. We get deep into that topic. It goes to a great place. I think you get some value out of it. Also, we're just recapping 4th of July. We had a little extra time last week because of the holiday. So talk about lighting stuff on fire. It's fantastic. If you guys like it, like, share, subscribe, comment. We appreciate your support.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. It's so nice to have this.
I know, right?
The weeks go by. The past week, we've got quite a bit done. So, I suppose that we could jump into the fact that we were blowing up everything with fire at your farm.
That's right.
And there was copious
4th of
amounts.
July, Independence Day.
And yeah, we got to celebrate. Friends, family. It was good times.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for coming, by the way.
Of course, I appreciate the invite. Of course, and everybody liked the my girlfriend's desserts, so I was glad about that.
You know what? It's funny because at the end of the night, I'm running around.
Sure.
By the time I actually got to the dessert, it was all gone.
It was gone.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah,
I didn't even get a piece.
I missed out on the apple crisp just barely. Yeah. Luckily, we got our colleague there, Colin. He got to taste some of that, but yeah, no, it was shocked, man. I don't know what, you've just been storing them like a squirrel, all these fireworks. It was the first, so
yeah.
There was a little trailer, right? We don't want to make too big of a deal of it, but I'm saying there was a reasonable sized trailer connected to your like riding mower.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. This should be a good show. And then you went back out for like another trip.
Yeah.
And then there was other fireworks just for kids.
Right.
Because that's probably a safe thing to do.
Yeah.
I know my 9-year-old son got
kid-friendly fireworks.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was giving them.
Yeah, it wasn't too crazy. Although my son got to deal with a Roman candle. He was pretty fired up about that. He said he was, double fisting some Roman candles. I was like,
nice. I wish I had my phone for that when he was doing that, because I had a perfect shot of him doing it. I'm like, that would have been a great memory, but I didn't have it on me.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
That's hopefully it lives on in his brain. And I'm sure, would have just led to a fight anyway. Because then his sisters would have like, I should have had it. Blah, blah, blah. And unfair. So
just to give the audience a little bit of background, every year my wife and I, we hold our big thing is 4th of July. And so we hold a big party, have a lot of fireworks. Every year our goal is to get more and more fireworks. So it's just a huge firework extravaganza. My goal for that night is just to make it to fireworks moment, because then any stresses of the party,
it's gonna work out.
It gets much nicer and easier, and everybody's happy once you see fireworks. So.
Right.
But this year was cool because we had something, like you said, something for the kids.
Yeah.
It's something for then we had some like fountains, a station for all the different fountain fireworks.
Right.
And then we had in the back where it was safe, and it was actually fenced off. It actually worked perfectly. All that stuff is done in the back. That's all the big grand finale, big fireworks.
And they were good.
So the most part, I think it was good. There's a couple mixed in where like, that firework should have been in the back.
Should have been in the back.
But
a little too big.
But I thought it was fun.
It was good for all the human beings. I do remember having a thought like, I wonder what the chickens feel about this.
Yeah, so we have a farmyard in the back, and we have all of our chickens, ducks, goats, sheep. Yeah, I was thinking, man, these chickens are going to be laying some scrambled eggs.
Poor little fellas. They don't know.
Listen to all the fireworks going off. But the fireworks lasted a good hour and a half. Which is like,
that's
because
crazy.
We started in the beginning with when the sun's just about to go down and all the kids are playing with their sparklers, and so we kind of phase it. but because it's easy to just run through fireworks really fast, and then in 5 minutes it's all it's all done.
Just kind of blow the load.
So we try
quick.
to like kind of space it out a little bit,
right?
And then a lot of the kids can't stay for too long, so that's why any of the up close type fireworks we get them to play with those.
Yeah,
early.
those were
the sparklers, the little smoke, fireworks and all that stuff.
I don't know if I know I was highly qualified as a parent, right? We're like, what are we gonna do? All right, kids, here's the sparkler, right? And you don't touch the fat side and blah blah. So I had my safety speech together.
Yeah,
but there was others. They will remain nameless, who were a little more willy-nilly about things. They're just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't read it. And it got dark, Nobody has like a little headlamp either. Yeah. And they're not like taking the time to get their phone out and read the directions or anything. There weren't even directions on it anyway. None of it makes any sense.
See, I should have signed like every station. Okay, Chris, listen, you're the safety guy for this.
Right.
I made a comment to some of the parents that were with me launching the big fireworks. Like, I hope that those guys like are being careful. I'm putting a lot of trust in their hands.
Yeah. It was working out.
I kept watching. I'm like, okay, they seem like they're having fun back there.
I'll say that amongst the kids section, if you will, I think it was Colin actually, we were crying at the ridiculous name. Like, speaking of branding, you know what I mean? Like, who comes up with these names? It was like Tears of a Dragon was one of the.
It's funny. I was thinking about that. I'm like, I wish I want that project. I want to be the guy to name.
If
fireworks.
Right. Get us in there,
because there's some really cool names.
Oh,
there's some hilarious ones too.
Like, it was ridiculous. I was like, this is just the wet dream of just any teenage boy, because they were so cheesy.
I know, but it was like great. And then the packaging of all the fireworks is like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's it was like, this is all designed by just teenage boys. It's kind of like
I thought the same thing when I look at hot sauces.
Yeah.
Like the people.
That's right. Yeah.
The people who come up with the hot sauce devil's ass and stuff like that. I was like, I want that job.
Yeah. There should be a contest. There should be a contest where like you hide what the product is, and it'll be like, has nothing to do with hot sauces, and then a hot sauce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like burnt devil's ass. But I don't even know what else it would be. I'll have to put some more thought into it. Yeah. But there's a contest waiting for us.
I want that naming job.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was cool. What I love too is like some of the kids were just swimming in a pool, nighttime swim while watching the fireworks going. People were like enjoying the fire pit, and there's just a lot of cool fun things happen. I thought that was a good year for the 4th of July party. So I'm looking forward to next year. I gotta plan it out a little bit. I'm like, it's funny because the next day, as we're cleaning up all the fireworks, Hannah and I are kind of reviewing, like, what worked this year? What do we need to improve for next year? Like, that's how big this is. Like, I'm taking notes of like what to improve for next year.
You guys are like business nerds. You're like, all right, let's debrief on our firework extravaganza.
No, it's serious. Like, I had a debrief with Hannah. What worked? What didn't work?
That's so silly.
Yeah. But it was fun. We love it.
Yeah. It was good times. And I think, maybe the stations, that makes sense, right? Maybe some rules, maybe some.
Yeah, I will say
prompting.
Though that once fireworks is over and like I can see everybody has their their digits and stuff.
Yeah,
that they haven't blown off a hand. That.
Right.
I do breathe a sigh of relief. That's why I try to have like all the big stuff away from everybody.
Yeah.
And usually I'm the one lighting a lot of that, just so that if there's anybody that hurts, it's me.
Did I ever tell you about the gangsters at my uncle's house down his neighborhood ever?
Mm-mm.
Bro. This is my consummate July 4th party kind of story, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like 1990 whatever, I don't know, right? John Gotti is out there in the mix. I think he had just finally gotten him, right? They finally got him in jail, right? Something like this. So my uncle Phil, he had a beach house, right? He lived down the shore, and in his little neighborhood there would be any number of folks who had like really nice houses, you know, really notably nice houses. And so every night, like a couple people would rent him out, right? I'm not mad at them. I mean, back then it was like $4,000 a week or something outrageous, right? So anyways, there's these guys that rent this one house. And it was like one of the newer houses. Gorgeous house. And so all these kind of like they were kind of like older money neighborhood, you know what I mean? So they had Mercedes and BMWs, but like classy.
Yeah.
So these guys show up, right? And I mean, I love me some Brooklyn. I love New York. I love the 5 boroughs. I'm from Jersey. I get it. But these guys were like, you know, real Goombas, right? So gold all over the whole bit. So they roll up, and my uncle, who's Italian, looks, right, and he's got an opinion of this. Like, look at these guys, you know, giving us a bad name kind of thing, right? Anyways, but there were lots of fun, and they were all pleasant, and they were playing with the kids. They were good people, right? So they're there on a whatever day. 4th of July is just a couple days later, right? So you have like a couple of days to see what's up. So we're all there on the beach. Seaside Heights is down this way. Point Pleasant Beach is down that way. Home of Jersey Mike's. And you're watching free fireworks, like some of the best in Jersey Shore. These guys bring up boxes. Dude, if you thought they had 4 by 4 by 4 boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know. 7, 8. I couldn't count.
Yeah.
They had those mortar, the cylinders, right? All right, so they set them up, right? And everybody's got these absurd, like cartoonishly stereotypical Vinny, Tony, Bob, you know, all this kind of thing. So they're like busting each other's chops. They get on there finally. We're all looking around like, oh man, this guy, you know, these guys are serious, right? So we kind of back up a little bit because we don't know really how this is going to go down. And they get pretty far out, a couple 200 feet, something like this. And they're setting up these big things, right?
Yeah.
So we're all kind of looking, you know, listening in, and one of the neighbors is, hey, where'd you guys got a lot of stuff going on? Now they brought like the 10th box, right? You guys got a lot. Where'd you get all that stuff from? And we're thinking like they probably stole it. You know what I mean? They're connected. And they're like, John Gotti's birthday party. Old Johnny let us have the leftovers.
What?
What? Dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
And it seemed right.
Yeah.
Right? Could have been
like
crap, but...
Right.
It seemed right. Anyways, so they're setting them off, and we're like right up front for like New York City size fireworks, right? And they're going off that a hitch, and they're doing it right and safe and this and that and the other, right? And I can't remember his name. It might have been Jimmy. Jimmy didn't know too much about fireworks, evidently. So he must have dropped one of these things down in the mortar thingy, right? And I guess you light them is how you do it, and then you drop it, I guess soon, right?
Right.
I guess he lit it, dropped it, takes a step back. Does it go off? I don't know. What's he do? What's
he
Jimmy
looks
do?
inside. Oh, no.
He takes a little gander.
Does he boom?
In the darkness, you could see this lighted ball of whatever right past his face.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So he falls backwards like, oh my God.
Yeah.
All kinds of words are said. And it, boom. I mean, it was the biggest one you'd ever seen. Like one of those big white ones, no color, just, right? And immediately after it goes off, hey, Jimmy, how's your freaking hand? They're just busting his chops.
Yeah.
They don't care about their friend. That doesn't matter. So anyways, it went off that a hitch. We appreciated it. And then we just found, me and my buddy, I was just a kid then. So we found a whole bunch of like live fireworks. Our parents took them eventually, but we found a lot, you know.
Was it before, like during, at night?
No, the morning after. Yeah,
see, the morning after is always the best.
Yeah.
I remember, I have so many great memories as a kid, you know, Gen Xer. At that time, like, I was living in the suburbs up in southwest suburb of Cleveland.
Right.
And like, the morning after, all the kids, we got out, we tried to find all the duds, see what we could do with them.
Yeah.
That was the best memories I had. I remember it was so much fun because every neighbor had kind of like their thing.
Right.
Like we had all the whistlers, the bottle rockets and stuff. The neighbor across from them, they had the big like mortars, loud ones.
Right.
Then we had a neighbor down the street. They liked all the land stuff, like the boats and the tanks and stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we had the tanks.
And every neighbor did something, and everybody had parties in their front yard. And I remember this one year, my brother. One of my brothers who's lighting a bottle rocket was lit it, but then the pipe that he put it in, he dropped it in, it fell, shot across. There's a person I think it was my other brother. He had to like duck as it was shooting, almost got hit by it. It shot across the yard, and I remember watching. It's vivid memory.
Right.
One of our the neighborhood girls was running across her yard.
Right.
Across the street, and it went hit her.
Oh no!
She ended up having to go to the hospital, like 'cause
No.
she broke like a bone or something, like in her hand. Yeah, but like everybody has memories of that.
Yeah.
It's like we used to like have bottle rocket wars down the street. The next day would lit any bottle rockets that weren't lit off, and the parents didn't care.
That was fine.
They didn't ask. Nobody knew. We were like attaching fireworks, bottle rockets to like cars, our little toy cars,
Right.
shooting it down the street.
Yeah.
Nobody
Attaching to
asked.
like a G.I. Joe
Nobody
or something.
asked.
Yeah.
But it was like great fond memories. Like,
Yeah,
I loved
man.
it. So anyways, we're trying to keep it safer than that. I don't I'm smarter than I was when I was younger. But
I mean, yeah, I guess we really.
but to try to create those memories, like for your son, like I hope he has that memory. Like, I remember like shooting this. Those are great memories for kids.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's look, man. There's some risk.
There's some risk, right?
There's a little risk.
Oh yeah,
but there's reward. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Love it. But yeah, those good times.
That was good times. I dig it. So next year we'll make it a point. So you're just stashing them.
Yeah.
So just collect them, man.
Yeah,
we'll collect.
Keep collecting more and more fireworks. Big bang.
Yeah. And we'll be sure to debrief afterwards.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, that's what we do around here. Post meeting, very serious business.
Yeah.
We debrief. That's fun.
Yeah. So last week was short because of 4th of July. Landed right in Thursday. So so not a whole lot of marketing stuff happening last week, other than just some meetings. But yeah. Now the week before, remember we had that. Was it the week before we had that? I spoke over to those nonprofits over in Madison, Indiana. That was fun.
Bit of a hike to get out there. Wasn't the worst drive.
Yeah, but that was good.
That was a good one, man. Felt like we were doing some righteous work.
Yeah,
trying to help folks,
helping the nonprofit directors kind of like get a few marketing tips and how they could be able to promote their nonprofit organizations. So that was good.
And
how did you think that went, by the way?
I thought it went well. Good. Right. So you're up there, doing what you do. And we're booking engagements, people, in case you want it. But you're doing your speech, comes off just fine. Right. And while one is giving a speech, might be hard to read the room, right? At least that's been my experience. I'm sure yours too. So I kind of reveled in the fact that I can look, okay, this one's engaged, right? That one's kind of out of it, right? I'll be sure to follow up with that one.
Yeah.
And the amount of kind of note taking or a few visible aha moments, right? It was whatever the phrase, whatever the moment, I saw it as you were talking to these folks. And for you guys, these weren't it wasn't a big CEO thing. It wasn't even the small business thing or the medium-sized business thing. No, it was people are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And and it's a lot of times in small business, you end up with you're trying to make your pizzas or your hubcaps or build a car, whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. And
you're so caught up in doing that budget for the marketing is the afterthought. It's I don't know. I'm trying to be the best in the industry. What do you want from me? Right. And fair enough. Right. But at the end of the day, it's still a business where you're trying to make money. right? I'm not mad at it, but that's it. It is what it is. But these folks were trying to, they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to,
because they're nonprofits, right?
Because they're nonprofits.
Right.
They're trying to, and then you find out, okay, what is it exactly that you do, right? And folks are working with like kids and all these sorts of things. So to see that, and then to see how they, to try to get them to invest a bit of their brain power in maybe some perspective on their branding, on how they're going to market, which really, you used other synonyms for that for them, because it took it out of the salesy realm. Yeah. And it was more of, no, listen, there's a message here, right? And to kind of get all their guns, so to speak, pointing in the right direction, right? And get themselves aligned. It was interesting to see that used in that arena. Yeah. As opposed to what, frankly, is a little more obvious when you talk about businesses.
But you know what's interesting, though, and I really tried hard to get this point across to these directors, nonprofit directors, is that whether you're doing a good thing, helping people with your nonprofit, or whether you're building, a car or making pizzas, as you said, marketing is, at the end of the day, it's all about people, right? And that's where really I wanted to kind of take a little bit of that mystique away from marketing. Yeah, like it's about people, understanding your people, segmenting those those personas, and understanding what drives them, what motivates them, what are their needs, right? Yeah. I really try to kind of reduce it in simplest terms, so that marketing doesn't end up being a complicated, exhausting type of activity, right? Yeah. Now, what was interesting to me is I realized that a lot of these those people who attended, like, they wanted to know some of the basic things. I wish I had a little more time to talk and address some of the basic questions, like how do we use social media? Like, they're so focused on just meeting their needs of their the people that they serve, that they don't know some of the new technologies and what to post, how to post it. Some of the easy tools they could use to make sure that their videos are better quality. I wish I would spend a little bit more time. I focused a lot on big picture type marketing stuff, but looking back, if I were to evaluate, I'm like, I thought it was good, but they needed some of those just very simple, simple tools or hints on how to communicate to their audiences, and probably would have done a little bit better on that. But at the end of the day, if their takeaway was, hey, it's about the people, understand your people, spend time with your people, listen to them so that you could address their needs, whether it be the donors, whether it be their the people they're serving, etc. So I thought it went pretty. Yeah,
I think it was pretty well. Success. Yeah. Yeah, we got some contacts out of it, but I think that's true. That's a weird experience, I think, across the board, right? In a lot of industries, I'm forever in meetings of some sort, right? Trying to network. It's what my job is here. It's interesting how that's pretty much universal. What exactly I'm saying is that, as if there's a secret sauce, as if there's some magical component that's going to get the word out or something, right? Yeah. Not really the case. 9 times out of 10, there's just some very simple rudimentary tools, just like a hammer. And if you need to nail stuff in, just use the hammer. Right.
Don't overcomplicate this.
Yeah, just keep it simple.
Yeah. Now, of course, with bigger budgets, bigger companies, bigger strategies, right? It adds complexities for sure. But at the core, it's still about people, and you can't lose sight of that. Yeah. So I thought that overall went well. I think the biggest thing, and maybe a good topic for today, is just integrating some of their brand. When I was talking about brand dissonance and the difference between brand identity and brand image, right? Yeah. I saw a lot of people taking notes on that, and the concept of brand integration, I thought was a lot of people, they don't understand that when you determine what your brand identity is and what your brand is about, that needs to permeate in everything you do,
Yeah.
right? In culture, the flyers you create, the reels that you video, down to the way you talk and the word choices you use, right? That narrative needs to be in alignment with your brand, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was, I'm hoping that was something that they got out of it, right?
Yeah.
And big businesses, they understand that, right? The Coca-Colas of the world, the Apple, they understand that everything that they do, touch, say, needs to speak their brand. But when it comes to some of the smaller organizations, especially nonprofits, they don't necessarily see that. And so there could be a lot of that brand dissonance because they're not integrating that brand throughout. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they also got a little bit of that as a takeaway.
When it comes, all right, it's interesting. So I think the brand dissonance, which we've talked about before, is I guess maybe it's more easy to see, right? It's easy if you're. I think I just said yesterday to somebody, like if you've got a real slick kind of a clientele that you want to touch, right? Like a high end niche kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And you're charging a mint for it per hour, but your logo looks like it's from 1985, some Nintendo game or something, right? It's like this doesn't jive.
This doesn't jive,
right?
Yeah.
And the dissonance part is like, okay, fine, I understand. I think it's easy to see, right? But the integration part of it, that's a little trickier because what it puts me in mind of is if the brand was a person, then as they say, what would Jesus do, right?
What would the brand do?
What would the brand do if that was a person, right? And when I think about, say, characters in TV shows or something, right? It kind of makes a little sense to me, but how to extract that out of people and then push it back to them and say, oh, okay, here's your brand and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
That seems, how do you get started on that?
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking about the brand dissonance conversation, and I was thinking of a real life example that you had where you probably experienced that brand dissonance. Do you remember the restaurant that you told me you guys recently went to?
Oh, down the road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? There's a
That's right.
It's like it was a high end and brand new restaurant.
Brand spanking new.
And they're doing a great job. Like I see what they're trying to do, but it's a high end Mexican restaurant.
Couldn't look better.
Yeah, but for you, it was complete dissonance, right, from your previous experience. So
right.
Tell the audience.
When if you've got like a little hole in the wall joint, right, that you go to, right, and there's a lot of spots like that, right. Some of my favorite places here in Ohio, back in New Jersey, right. If you go into like say a Chinese food spot, what menu are you looking at? They're ordered from the same joint, it seems.
Yeah.
From 1979.
It's like on one side it has like the Chinese zodiac, on the other side it has the, right?
Of course.
The red and gold
the menu,
trim.
like what you see on the wall.
You have expectations of those that Chinese takeout restaurant.
Straight from that at your peril. Right? And so with the Mexican joint, it's the same thing. It looked absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, this is just...
It was beautiful.
Amazing.
Beautiful. The artwork in this place was different.
Murals.
It's nothing that you would think of in a Mexican restaurant. It was beautiful. It
was gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know honestly what it looked like?
The menu was really nice.
It looked like the
not
UFC
like a typical Mexican menu. But
the food, bro.
Then the cost.
Bro, those murals are expensive. Right? The actual interplay.
Just one mixed drink was like $25 just for
least.
Now they're gigantic. They're huge and they had everything coming out of it.
Umbrellas and a thing and all this kind of my buddy's girlfriend got a drink, one of the margarita style thing, and there was a rubber duck in it.
Right?
Now, here's the part where the dissonance comes in because honestly, for real, it looked like some, local Ohio dude, right? Some white fella with German roots who doesn't get it. You know what I mean? Took over and, we're going to do it like this, that, and the other. Bro, if you got a robot serving drinks in your Mexican restaurant, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
You don't get it.
I don't get it.
You know, see, for me, I thought, okay, this is pretty cool because they're trying to do something different, not a typical Mexican restaurant.
I
right?
appreciate that. Right.
But yeah, I could see, especially you, like your restaurant stories are hilarious. But for you, it's like, wait, this is I don't expect this when I go to a Mexican restaurant, right?
Right.
Yeah, but man, you're looking to spend a lot of money at that restaurant for sure.
Yeah.
But so that's an example of brand. This now, what's interesting is like now throughout when you went in, they integrated their brand concept. I thought it was great. They integrated it. You had robots bringing your food. You had modern art, nothing like you would think in a Mexican restaurant. But their menus were really classy, nice high-end type restaurant, big. It wasn't like, hey, I want to order number 3, number 4, like a typical Mexican restaurant. No, I mean, everything was really nice.
Right.
So I thought that their execution was done, but for a normal experience, you would never really think that when you went into this Mexican, hey, let's eat Mexican tonight, and you go into that restaurant, you would never anticipate the high cost. You would never anticipate this beautiful place. You would just a typical Mexican restaurant, right? Brand distance. I thought the execution was good, but not what people would necessarily have expected. Now your second time you go, now you know what to expect, right? So yeah, brand integration is important. I thought they integrated well, but again, it's completely different than what you would ever think. For a Mexican restaurant, right?
Yeah, it was.
But I immediately thought of you when you said that. I'm like, okay, so he's talking about the distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that. Now that you mention it, I think what I noticed most, right? Because that's where, I love telling a story, and that's where a lot of them come from. I'm like, but wait a minute, I thought it was going to be this. Why are we here now? This makes no sense.
Yeah.
So the integration part. I think it'd be interesting to kind of, witness that. I don't know, maybe we'll put like a mock assessment together, but somehow to communicate that to a business owner, right? That kind of conversation to be like, look, I see what you want to do, and this one aspect of your business is on brand. This other stuff that you got going on isn't, right? When you're having those kind of conversations, is it, as we've mentioned before, is that one of those aha moments where they're like, oh, I didn't even see that, or is it fought back on? Is it, but this is how we've always done it? I mean, how does that shake out?
It goes both ways sometimes.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on the client. So I remember working with a manufacturing client, and they were ready to make changes. They're ready to think outside the box. And so they loved some of the recommendations when we're talking about how we communicate certain product lines versus another product line, because it depended on the who their target audience is per product line, right? And they took it all in. They loved it all, right? But then we worked with others where they've done it this way, they've said this way time and time again, and they weren't willing to change. Even though, wow, this sounds good. Like when we did our assessment, and this is what our research shows, wow, that sounds great. But then when it came down to all right, let's put together our email campaigns, let's put together social media campaigns, we would get pushback all the time, just because we just never say it that way. Well, yeah, but this is what your audience is wanting, right? So it can be a struggle. It requires you to look outside of yourself and kind of put the brand first, the company brand first, and not necessarily your personal opinions or biases, right?
That makes sense.
I had to do that even for my own agency.
Yeah.
I remember when we were going through, this is probably like a couple years ago now, but we were going through a whole branding exercise with the team, and I put my own personal biases in, and I was like, no, this is not who we are. This is who we are. But everybody in the whole team was like,
they could see it.
Okay, we could see that you're wrong on this, right?
Right.
And I know that the more I was looking at my biases, I realized that, you know what, I'm putting my own personal opinions or life experiences first, and as a result, I wasn't agreeing with them. But then once I realized, like Ernie, I was listening to the team, they were telling me like this, but you never say this stuff. You always say this. We always talk about this. We always act like this. This is what our culture is always about. And you're like, yeah, you're right. I had that aha moment of like, yeah, dang it. Okay, you guys are right.
Yeah,
you're right. I'm trying to be like other people. I'm trying to be, because I'm looking at other agencies and I'm looking at other people and what they're saying. I want to be like them.
Yeah.
And then my own staff are telling me, yeah, but we like who we are. We like who you are, and we're not them. And I'm like, you got me. You're right.
Checkmate.
You're right.
That's interesting.
And so we had to change the narratives and change who we. It wasn't like we had to change who we are. We just had to really change me and my expectation, because I'm always striving to be.
Sure.
And it's so easy for me to strive something that I'm really not. Right. And that's not just, that doesn't happen just with me. That happens with even clients of ours.
Sure.
Maybe they're trying to strive to be like a competitor, only to realize that stop being like them. You're not them.
Be you.
Be you.
Yeah.
Be your brand. What is your brand? Right.
That's interesting, man. I think of anything creative, right? I could see how a director, I can see comedians, I can see maybe actors, but maybe comedians, right? Because comedy. So I've heard. It's not like I know. You see somebody maybe that certainly makes you laugh, but makes you think. Dave Attell is one of those, right? Where he had a particular style when he was younger, specifically. that was very. You wanted to parrot what he was doing because even his delivery was hilarious. Yeah. So then you kind of imitate and pick up his style. Yeah. And in his area, they would call them babies. Oh, you're going to Dave's babies, because he just had the same delivery. So in business, it's like, you're mimicking something, but that's not your style, man. Yeah. Right. I know that you want to be like that, but what an odd thing it is to be. It's like you've got to extract from that person what is maybe universal, I suppose, right? I guess sticking with comedy, it's maybe how are the jokes structured? Was he a storyteller joke guy, or was it a one-liner, or whatever that might be? But there's something common, that can be extracted that you two could use, but then you're not Rodney Dangerfield, right? That's just not your. You're not going to put the tie on. Hey, no respect. You're not that guy.
You're not that guy. Right. Stop being like that guy.
But what an odd kind of revelation to have, and furthermore, what an odd revelation to be brought to, right? Especially if you're going to hire some marketing firm. You go in, you think you just need a website because your website looks kind of jive, and then you sit down for conversation, and they, you peel back their skull, man, and they're like, no, dude, all your ideas that you just thought you were working with. Are you comparing yourself to this thing or that thing? Right. You're not.
You're not.
That's
what this is who you are, and then, or this is what when you talk about your mission, your vision, your values and purpose, and the brand archetype. Like, this is who your company is and what you're trying to become. You can never be like them unless you completely change the direction, right? And you make that conscious effort. Otherwise, that's not who you are, and therefore, everything that needs to permeate throughout everything that you're communicating, whether it's any PR activity, social media posts, flyer, posters, banners, the logo gear you choose, to the commercials you run, radio ads, etc. Right? Or how you train your salespeople to talk, or
that's a good one.
Or internally, the culture, how you promote or encourage people to interact with each other as colleagues, right? It has to all your brand has to bleed into all that stuff, and if it's not, then what's going to happen is that's when words like hypocrisy comes to mind. You see that in churches, right? Hypocrisy a lot because it's not living up to what you're saying at the pulpit, right?
Yeah.
You start seeing just again that dissonance or things aren't adding up. I'm just not feeling it. The vibe is what we're saying out there is not matching what's going on in here, right? Yeah. All that stuff is all part of that brand integration conversation. It's important. Now, good companies, they know they are cognizant of that, and they're willing to put their own biases, their own opinions, and adopt the narratives, or the wording, or the verbiage, or the what have you,
right?
Of the brand, company brand. It's important.
As you're saying, I thought of like Chick-fil-A because they're always usually so nice, right? They're usually pretty nice, notably so as compared to like another fast food joint. I also think of maybe like Patrick Bet-David, who I watch on YouTube a lot, and he owned an insurance business, but it's the kind of thing he would say, like we don't do that.
Yeah,
we don't do that at this company. I forget the name of his company, but we don't do that here. And like when just like a family, honestly, right? Like, like you're a carteller, you're not going to do this, that, and that. Right. Yeah. But just the same, right? If if your old man's telling you one thing and then you see him, running down to Miss Jones down the street or something like this, you know what I mean? And it's like, hey man, why, what's with the hypocrisy? Like, what are you doing here? That's key, man. That's key, and that leads to every conversation. I think from my experience, getting people to see that perspective, especially with what they hold near and dear to themselves in their business, is an interesting challenge. Yep. And I don't know if they're willing to give that much credence to what we do. Right. It's more valuable. It's worth the X% of your revenue. Yep. Right. To level up what you do. Yeah. Right. To make it that smoothly running machine.
And the reason why it's so important to invest the time, energy, money into integrating your brand so the messaging is seamless is because when you're trying to communicate to the end user, your customer, that person, right? You're building a trusting relationship with that individual. And so when you talk and you present yourself in this way, they need to feel, and they like it because it's speaking to them. You're trying to reach out to them. They need to know that whole experience all throughout is going to be consistent. The moment they start seeing that hypocrisy, right, then that trust starts to break down a little bit. That's why customer service also, like you think of, you brought up Chick-fil-A, it's my pleasure, right? Customer service, that's all marketing as well. That's part of their brand. Right. If all of a sudden one of those the customer support, the servers start acting different from that.
Right,
then it's like, whoa, this is what's wrong with that. You start losing a little bit of that trust with that brand, right? And so it is about people. It's about relationships, and that when you integrate your brand and you know who you are, then that tells your audience what they should expect, right? And when they're relating with your brand. Yeah. And so that's why it's important, and that's why the investment is important. It helps to make you stickier, so your customers they'll stay with you because they know what to expect. It will attract other customers that like that brand because they know people talk about it. It's easy for people to talk about your brand because they know you communicate throughout. Right. In every different medium, so they know exactly how to communicate. So it increases word of mouth, right? And so therefore attracting more like-minded customers. Right. It's very important. But when you don't do that, then it's say, well, how long has this company been in business? Do they really know what they're doing? Are they really credible?
Really into
everything's
chicken,
inconsistent. The food's inconsistent. Do you start causing some other, doubts? Yeah. And doubts in a relationship is never a good thing, right?
Right.
So. Yeah.
Well, that's a good nugget, man.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Doubts in a relationship.
It's never a
Love
good
guru
thing.
over here, dude. I like that. Yeah, man. All right. You know, it's funny. Kind of a left turn, but it is funny. I looked up the term, right? Because I like to be prepared. So I see brand integration, which is just what we're talking about right here, guys. Okay, that's the professional term. But also is when you drop a brand into a movie. I saw that as a synonym.
Yep.
And one of my favorites all time, Friday the 13th. There's a kill scene. I mean, it's gory horror for maybe you younger people. Maybe you don't know. Yeah. But this is like Friday the 13th, part 6, I believe, right? And it's like some stupid title by that point because there's 6 of them. Like Jason Never Forgets or some stupid shit. I don't know. Anyways, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a kill scene where somebody dies. And I think they have like a bifold in their wallet or something like this, right? So they get the hit, right? And they're in the rain. There's like a puddle or something. And the hand lands and then it opens the wallet to reveal American Express.
Yeah.
And those of us from like the 80s,
Yeah.
right, will know the line, right? So you see it, American Express. Don't leave home without it.
Yep.
But the interesting part in the movie was there was enough time for you to like focus. It wasn't happenstance.
Yep.
And so there was enough time for you to actually say out loud that phrase.
Right.
And there's like, you know, reviews from way back in the day where you can be like, oh yeah, dude, I heard people saying it in the movie theater. Like brilliant.
That's hilarious.
But the weird thing, I mean, talk about brand dissonance. Like, who objectively was like, hey, you know what would be great placement for this product? You know what says American Express?
Yeah.
A headshot in a horror movie. That doesn't make any sense at all. At all. How did they sell that?
Yeah.
How was it okay?
Yeah.
To me, that's a very odd moment.
Yeah.
Right? I wonder if somebody took convincing or if they were just like, no, that's a great idea. I don't know.
I don't know. That's where I love sometimes to be that fly on the wall to kind of hear those conversations. I'm sure they probably there's a department, they have a budget, and they're looking, okay, what are some of the movies coming out? Where can we place it that fits in line with like, hey, you're an emergency, and yet, you know, your American Express is there for you, right? Like, and so, hey, let's put it in that Jason movie, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to be in those type of conversations.
I would love to hear who sold that idea, you know?
Right? But yet they knew that you'd think about it.
To this day.
Right? So they branded you.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it's over 30 years ago, and I was a little kid. I still remember that. Crystal clear.
Yeah.
God, yeah, I remember all those movies, man. Wayne's World, they did the same thing, but they did it like very much on purpose. New print, right? Little yellow, different. But they're like obviously sold out, wearing Reebok and eating Doritos, and brilliant.
Love it.
All right, I think that's a good chunk of information for these folks, man.
Yeah,
that was
good.
That was a solid one. So we'll wrap it up there.
Okay.
Let's hit that tagline and get ourselves out of here. So, once again, from the iconic era of advertising to the digital age, I'm Chris.
And I'm Ernie.
Keep it legendary.